All right, you guys, welcome aboard again from Trona, California down to Torrance, California. A little interesting flight this afternoon. You guys will come along with me, we'll figure it out together. What's happening down in LA right now? They'll show up in a moment. There they are. Lots of TFRs. The president happens to be in town, coming in, departing, the vice president, the whole thing with their schedule I can't even follow. But looks like the TFR that would affect me in terms of landing in Trona has ended at 12:15 p.m. It's currently 1:01 p.m., so that shouldn't be a problem. I am in the what's called the outer portion, so not within the immediate 10 miles of the TFR or the center of it. I'm in the wider 30 miles, the outer ring, and so I'm able to land in Torrance. I need to be on a beacon code, a VFR or IFR flight plan. What I decided to do for the sake of this flight is to just go ahead and file a flight plan. Now, the interesting thing about Trona, where I'm at, I happen to be in the middle of restricteds and MOAs, so I can't really do an IFR flight in this area. But once I get clear of the MOAs and restricteds right down here by Foxfield, I'll go ahead and pick up an IFR flight in the air. And I figured it would be a great opportunity to show you guys what that looks like. What the process of obtaining your IFR clearance while airborne, what that looks like, what goes into it, and then you guys can follow along on an IFR flight into Torrance, so we'll see what direction they take us in. Otherwise, we're good to go here. Everything checks, things look good. It's scorching hot out right now. It's 42 degrees Celsius on the pavement out, and absolutely crazy. But for now, to get myself from here to outside of the MOAs, what I'll do is I'll go to my flight plan catalog where I have my flights stored. So Lima 72 to Torrance, I'll activate it, and you guys can see right over here. If I zoom out, there's that flight plan. At least it will get me out of the MOAs and the restricted areas. I'll be climbing up to an altitude of 8,500 on this one, and that should be good for now. And runway 17 is in use. So here we go. Fuel selector is both, cowl flaps are open, trims both set for takeoff. I got her way leaned out, and RPM slightly higher here than normal. Really, really hot, high density altitude outside. My flaps are 10 degrees, my lights are coming on, and we are good to go. There we go. All right, you guys, thanks for coming along, and I hope you guys enjoy the ride. Let's make it happen. There we go. Back to Trona. Okay. Trona traffic, white Cessna is back taxiing 17 for a straight out southbound departure Trona. Air conditioning is doing its best. Clear right, clear left. It is really hot. Absolutely crazy. There we go. We'll see what happens with the TFRs. It'll be interesting down in LA, but I will learn what happens along with you guys, and we'll see what that looks like. All right. Trona traffic, white Cessna is taking runway 17 for a straight out departure to the south, Trona. All right, here we go. I'll actually go full power here and get 34 gallons an hour on the fuel flow. So I'll go 39 inches of manifold pressure and then 34 gallons an hour on the fuel flow, so that way my workload actually, once I get airborne, is reduced. So here we go. There's 30 manifold pressure. There's 39. And there's 34 gallons an hour. Here we go. Maintaining center line with right rudder. And we're good to go. Get that back pressure a little back. And once she's ready to go fly, we'll go fly. And we're off. She's ready. All right, positive rate of climb, flaps up. And so long, Trona, for at least today. Trona traffic, White Cessna's on the upwind 17, straight out departure, Trona. There we go. Just like that, we're off. I'm anticipating it to be a little bumpy, although we just flew in from the north. We actually came in from Idaho today, and it wasn't terribly bad coming in from the north, so we'll see what the south looks like. Typically it's windier down south, so we will wait on that. And there we have it. All looks good. 39.25 and 34 gallons an hour on the fuel flow. Flaps are up. Cowl flaps are open. Temperatures look good for now. And we're crossing through 2,800 feet up to 8,500 feet. Now the IFR flight that I did file, I filed for 10,000 feet into into Torrance. And so we'll see what I end up being cleared for. Whether or not they'll give me 10 or a different altitude, but that's what I filed for. And all looks good. I'm looking at the system, making sure it's doing what I think it's supposed to do, and everything looks good. I'm monitoring the system. It's one of those trust but verify the autopilot. It's no time for me to hang out and look out the window. I'm looking at the temperatures. I'm looking at making sure everything's happening. The only thing I'm not doing with autopilot engaged is actively maintaining positive control over the airplane, meaning manually. I'm not doing that. That's the only thing I'm not doing. Other than that, I'm doing everything I would otherwise do as well. So there's 4,000 for 8,500. And we're headed to this waypoint, USR 119er, which I created as a flight plan or a sort of a series of waypoints to get me out of Trona and avoiding these restricted airspaces. So once I get high enough to about 8,000 or so, I'll give Joshua Approach a call. I'll just make my last call here with Trona. Trona traffic, White Cessna is 5 to the south on the upwind runway 16, departing the area straight out to the south, 4,700 feet climbing left, call Trona. So there we have it, and I'm switching to Joshua. I'll give him a call at 8,000 feet, or once I start hearing them, I'll get an idea that I'm high enough in terms of reception. All right. Temperatures do look good. I will transition here in a moment to a little cruise climb, meaning a climb at a higher speed than VY, as I keep an eye out for the temperatures. Otherwise, all is good. I'm looking at 39 inches of manifold pressure, 2,500 RPM, and 34 gallons an hour of fuel. And once I transition to that cruise climb, I'll bring the power back a little bit. I don't want to bring it back too much. It's really hot out, so performance won't be all that great, not at full power, but I will save on fuel nicely. And there we go. Typical departure out of Trona. There we go, that kicked in, FSS VFR advisory. And I'll go ahead and lower my nose, pick that speed up to 100 knots. I'll actually keep power where it's at right now. I just want to confirm that we have enough power to maintain a nice climb up to altitude, but I will do so at a higher speed, and as a trade-off for a faster forward speed and still burning a lot of fuel, at least I'll get better airflow flowing up and around my engine cylinder. So it'll cool the engine, keep my CHTs lower for now. All right, we got 1,800 feet to go, 1,700 feet to go, coming up on 7,000 for 8,500. And all looks good. Now here's the thing, I'll get on with Joshua Approach, get some flight following on my way to Trona, and then I'm already on with them with approach control, so I could just get on with them and say, hey, I'd like to pick up my IFR clearance to Torrance, and I'm already on two-way radio communication with them, so it'll be really, really, really easy. So here we go. Joshua Approach, good afternoon, Station Air 1215 Golf. See if they can hear me. Thousand to go. It's hot, it's hot. We're coming up on 8,000 feet, still showing 24 Celsius outside. Really hot.
November 709, contact Bakersfield Approach 118.8, good day.
CHT still look good.
118.8 for 709, good day.
Station 31, contact Oakland Center 353.8.
Our plane should turn right here in a moment. Let's see if they can hear me now. That approach, good afternoon, Station Air 1215 Golf.
November 1215 Golf, Joshua, good afternoon.
Yeah, we're approximately 8 to the south of Trona, 8,200, climbing 8,500. Looking for some flight following down to Torrance, California. That's Tango Oscar Alpha, and we're a Cessna 206 land off.
November 15 Golf, Roger, the Edwards altimeter 2993, squawk 4664.
2993, 4664, 1215 Golf. All right, 8,500 plane is leveling off. So that's working.
November 15 Golf, radar contact 12 miles south of Trona, and 2515 is hot, remain clear.
All right, position checks, and we'll remain clear of the restricted 125 Golf. There we go, cruiser out. And there we go, folks, I'm on flight following right now, so from here pretty much until Torrance, in my case today, I'll get on with them in a little bit, or the next sector and request my IFR clearance to continue my flight to Torrance. But otherwise, I'm on flight following. It's that easy. I got a beacon code, and I'll get updated altimeter settings as I make my way down south. So here we go. Let's go 30 inches, 2,300 RPM. And we'll lean the mixture. And look at that, we'll save about 10 gallons an hour here. And there we are. All looks good. Temperatures look good. I'll go ahead and close, not completely, but slightly, just a little bit, my cowl flaps. The reason I won't close it completely is because it's an extremely hot day. It's currently showing 20 degrees Celsius. So if I close my cowl flaps completely, even though I'm at cruise and I'm flying fast, the air is hot. And so my CHTs, just because I'm familiar with the airplane, will start climbing way above 400, and I don't want that. So what I do want to do is reduce my drag.
November 15 Golf, I'm not sure which frequency you're on. If you're not already on it, change my frequency 133.65.
Yeah, we're on 3365, 15 Golf. So what I do want to do is reduce the drag that my cowl flaps are producing. If you watch this channel often, you see every time I close those cowl flaps, I mention that we're going to gain about 5 or so knots of airspeed or ground speed. And the reason being is because the cowl flaps extend and pretty much sit right in front of my relative wind, so it creates a lot of drag, just like my regular flaps. So by closing them completely, you gain about 5 to 10 knots of ground speed, and that's a good thing, right? You're more aerodynamically efficient. But the penalty with
Air
that...
02 dash requesting.
The penalty with that on a hot day is that your temperatures will rise. And so if you look actually at the cruise checklist on this airplane, en route, and then we come to cruise, when it comes down to cowl flaps, I'll highlight it here with the green, it doesn't say close, it says as required. And what's meant by as required is position the cowl flaps in whichever position necessary, meaning whatever position will give you the least amount of drag, meaning you'll be the most aerodynamically efficient and the highest ground speed, while not compromising your temperatures. And so that's what as required means. So when you get to cruise, don't just close your cowl flaps. You want to really think about what environment you're flying in, what are the temperatures doing, and whether or not if you go closed on the cowl flaps, your temperatures will continue to rise, even though you're leveled at cruise, theoretically flying faster than you did up in the climb. So keep that in mind. That's what as required cowl flaps means, is figure out the position. They'll keep their CHTs where you want them. I don't like mine above 400, at least not for long. Right now they're 390 and hanging out, so I'm about halfway closed, and I'll keep an eye out on that and see what happens. But that's about that. That's my thought process when it comes to cowl flaps at cruise when operating in a really hot environment like I am right now. Okay, he told me the restricted is hot, right down south here, so I'll stay clear of that, which is what I'm doing. And so I'm headed down towards Mojave, and then I'll cut straight south. What I did actually to pick up my my IFR flight plan, what I did was I filed it from Foxfield, which is right down over here, KWJF. The reason I did that is because I'm going to pick up my IFR flight plan in the air from around the area of Foxfield. The reason I didn't do that from Trona is because if you look at published routes or preferred tech routes from Trona to Torrance, there are none. I didn't want to go direct because I sort of wanted to have a little bit of an idea of what I might get. And so I went from Fox to Torrance, and I think it's the Edwards Papa something 8 tech route over to Torrance. And so who knows what I'll get when I actually get there, but I filed from Fox to Torrance, planning on being up somewhere in the vicinity of Fox Airborne 8500, picking up my IFR clearance in the air. So all I'll do with them is get on with them and say, hey, Station Air 1215 Golf, I'm looking to pick up my IFR to Torrance, and I am 5 miles to the west of Foxfield or whatever that may be. And then we'll walk through that process together, and you'll see what that looks like. So that's that. And I also, of course, filed it for a departure out of Fox about 20 or 25 minutes following my departure out of Torrance. So Trona. So I accounted for all that. And there we have it. We're airborne, we're at cruise, looking at my temperatures. You see it's even climbing with that, so I'll go ahead and open it a little more. Actually, I'll open it completely right now, let it cool. I don't want my temperatures to rise. I am sitting at 19 degrees Celsius at 8,500 feet, which is kind of crazy. It's really hot. But again, I'm keeping an eye out on everything. Manifold pressure looks good. RPM looks good. And my fuel flow, my TIT temperature does look good as well. Everything else looks good in the green. We're good to go. My electrical system looks good. Solid. We're on our way. And you can see now that I opened my cowl flaps, my CHDs are coming down again, so pretty cool how that works. All right. Yeah, so like I said before, I flew down this morning with a client from Idaho. We headed up to Idaho, northern Idaho. A lot of flying. Yesterday morning, we spent 2 days of intensive real-world cross-country training, which is, for anyone who knows me, I'm a huge fan of real world, because that's ultimately what you're going to do. Hopefully, that's what you're going to do once you get your certificate. And so him and I just headed out 6 a.m. yesterday, and we made our way all the way up to northern Idaho, and spent the night, and then spent the day today making our way down south. Unbelievable amount of real-world training, an incredible amount of lessons learned, and it's amazing to see how, even in the span of 2 days, since we left yesterday and got back today, his confidence level of my client and his ability to really be comfortable in the airplane and control and manage the avionics and air traffic control, it's unbelievable to see the progress that even 2 days could make of intensive real-world training. So that was awesome. And that's that. We're done in Trona, and now I'm headed back to Torrance. And here we are. It is 1:22, looks like my flight plan here. Again, I'm going to pick up the IFR, but my flight plan here is showing me 59 minutes, pretty much an hour left. Should be on the ground in Torrance at 2:22 local time. And so we'll see what that looks like.
1320.
Oh, I want to show you guys something while we're sitting here, and the workload isn't yet too high with the IFR. Something that, not a client, a YouTube watcher emailed me asking me this question. So I was talking to my student apparently about user waypoints, and that's these little white things here. So USR 19059, USR 120. So I basically made up this flight plan and then sent it to the system. So it's made up of US waypoints, pretty much. That's what they're called. And so for those of you who have for a while been sending your flight plans from your ForeFlight via Bluetooth to the system, you know that it generates user waypoints to make up your route of flight. But this person was asking me, is there a way, if I'm flying without my flight plan, is there a way to go ahead and actually create a user waypoint, say right over here on top of that mountain, or anywhere for that matter, anywhere I'd like, a way to create a user waypoint, just like this one, to which my plane can track direct to. Not using my iPad, not using any of that, just using the avionics. And so I wrote them back, there is, and I also told them that I'll make a little video on it and show you guys. So, in fact, there is a way to go ahead and park, if you will, a user waypoint anywhere you'd like. You could put, if you want to track direct to here, you could go ahead and create a user waypoint right there, which I'll show you in a moment how to do that. And then you could go ahead and just do the direct enter function. Your plane will track all the way to it, accounting for wind correction angle and all this good stuff. So here's how we do it. So if I want, say, to go ahead and create a user waypoint right on this freeway, right over there. So here's how we do it. Right here, the range knob, the right left, press it in. So click it. Now you basically have that cursor going on, and you could with your finger move the actual range knob to the left or right, and you see the cursor moves along the screen. See that? So I could move it up, I could press it and move it down, and I could move it sideways, left, right, I could click it, I could move it fast, I could move it slow. So what you want to do first is park the cursor right where you want the user waypoint to be. So let's say we want the user waypoint to be right there on top of that mountain, not on top of the mountain, but right over there. So you want to keep it over there, and here's what you want to do with your avionics. You want to straight away press direct to right here. You ready for this? Direct to, and look what comes up. Manual waypoint. And you could not only create a waypoint right there, or a user waypoint, you have some options. It shows you the distance and the bearing to it, of course. But what you could do is you could even set up VNAV and tell it, hey, I want to show up at that waypoint at 5,500 feet. You could do enter. But not only that, you could also tell it, I want to show up at 5,500, but I want to be sure that I'm at 5,500 when I reach it. So therefore, I want you, VNAV, to reach 5,500 a mile prior to reaching that waypoint, or 2 miles prior. So you could even right here on the right do -1, -2, -3, and that's where 5,500 feet will be reached. You could do it either at or as many miles prior to the waypoint. So it's a really cool, sophisticated VNAV with this user waypoint. Or I could just go ahead and not do the VNAV, and then I could do, so I did direct, right? So right here, the cursor's there, direct, and then I could do enter, and then enter again. It's already on activate, and look what happens. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and sync to heading, because I don't want the plane to start moving. So I sync the heading bug, and I'm switching to heading mode, so right now the plane is on heading. And look what happened. I do enter, and look at that. The plane, essentially, if I were still in nav mode, would turn and track to this waypoint that I created. Isn't that crazy? So I don't need my iPad to send stuff to the system. I could go and I could undo the cursor there. And now I could zoom out, and there it is. The plane will track straight to it. So I don't need an iPad, I don't need anything. Just with my avionics, I could go ahead. Again, here's how to do it. Press in the cursor, move it to wherever you want to create the waypoint, and then all you need to do is direct enter, enter. Check it out. Direct, enter, enter. Boom. A line takes you straight to it. I'm not going to it because I'm in heading mode. I'm headed southbound. But I hope this makes simple, stupid sense that you can create a user waypoint. Now, if you see here on the top, see this orange little box? That's just like any other user waypoint. And so that's where you get all these different user waypoints in the system on your screen, unless you select to have them off. So I hope that makes sense. Nothing too complicated. That's a cool, neat feature of the G1000. Many people don't know that you could do it with your avionics only. People just think that you could actually only get them on there with your ForeFlight. So keep that in mind. It's a really easy way to do it. And there we have it. So now I'll get back to my flight plan. I'll do flight plan, and I'll highlight, and I'll actually scroll down to the waypoint I want to go to next, which in my case is USR 120 down by Mojave. I'll do direct enter, enter, and now I'm back on my flight plan to Torrance, and I'll switch back to nav mode right there. So now I'm back to square one, which is where I was before I started talking about the user waypoint. And that's that. Hope that makes sense, and I hope that's helpful for people out there.
Contact Ocean Center, 352.8, good day.
All right, looks like 53 minutes left to our flight. Temperatures look good. Got a 17-knot headwind, so it's holding us back here. All right, let's see. Let's get ready to copy our IFR into Torrance. Perfect. Good stuff. Yeah, it was the Edwards Papa 2. It was the Edwards Papa 2 tech route from Foxfield to Torrance. And looks like it's made up of Pomona, Victor 201, Barry, Victor 459, Seal Beach, and then Torrance direct. Looks like this. So again, as I said, I don't know what I'll get. I know what I filed, which is this. We'll see what I get. And so we'll plan to sort of accept anything. With this specific one, they don't take you all the way to Apple and bring you around. What they do is they fly you through the Bravo, and they keep you up high over the LAX Bravo, and then they drop you down on the south side of the Bravo and give you like a 360 turn or so to get you low enough to shoot the ILS or whatever approach you want to Torrance. So if I get this, I'll plan on it. Otherwise, I'll see what they give us. And there's the TFRs. It looks intimidating, but it's really not if you press on them and read whichever one applies to you, and it's valid times, and then you could just read the requirements. You know, you need to be on a beacon code, you need this, you need that, ATC, workload permitting, the whole thing. So in my case, it's just simplest for me to file IFR, because really, admittedly or not, the VFR traffic, I don't want to say we're second-class citizens, but VFR traffic from an approach controller standpoint sort of is workload permitting. Their priority is IFR traffic, and so it just is what it is. And so in a situation like this where I really need to get home, and there's this crazy stuff going on, I'm not within the inner circle there. I'd rather be on an IFR flight plan. It can't hurt. I'll have a beacon code showing up, and I'll have just even a hair more of a priority, and I'll take it. Even if it's just a hair of a priority, I'll take it. So that's sort of my thought process. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm in it along with you guys, and we'll figure it out. And here we are, right up here. Mojave's coming up, and then we have WJF, which is Foxfield, and then we have Palmdale right over there. And we are approximately, let's see, we are approximately 85 miles north of Torrance right now, so all is good. Temperatures are looking good because I have the cowl flaps open. I could close it just a tad, gain maybe a knot of ground speed, because I don't mind gaining a little bit on the temperatures. I'm a little cooler than I typically am willing to hang out at, and we'll see what that does to my ground speed. And there we have it.
Here's 49, Roger.
Coming up on Mojave. Mojave.
Number 0, Mike, Roger.
0, Mike. Once I'm clear of this restricted and I can cut that corner, I'll go direct USR 121. In fact, let me see if I can do that now. Probably not quite. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, we're good to go. Let's make a nice left, and that'll be a nice little shortcut. And I'll take us pretty much maybe a mile to the west of Foxfield right there, WJF. Edwards is right off to our left in a moment, ahead and to our left, right there. And here we have it. Looks like that reduced a little bit of the headwinds. Now we have 8 knots on the head and 2 knots left crosswind. And all looks good in the hood. Temperatures are maintaining, and everything's good.
There's 49er, contact support, good day.
Good day. A little bumpy out there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, before I go ahead and actually pick up my IFR clearance in the air, as I make my way to Torrance, let's talk about the difference, or let's compare the two, if you will, between picking up your IFR flight plan in the air to a generic VFR flight following while airborne. The reason I want to compare the two is because before I do it and I show you how it's done, I want to sort of drive the point home that really the difference between how you obtain flight following in the air and how you obtain your IFR clearance in the air is minute, the difference. It's slim to none. The only big difference, really, is that your clearance will be longer, as expected on an IFR clearance. If I'm obtaining an IFR clearance to a destination and that destination is far away from me, in the IFR world, there are specific maybe airways, or VORs or waypoints that they want me to track and hit along the way that will make up my route. And so obviously my clearance will be longer. Also, for IFR's sake, if you're either one of my students or you've watched me for a while, what I do say all the time is that if you think of the IFR system as a whole, take a bird's eye view of the IFR system, a lot of it in 2022 doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we're honest. Like if we think about the IFR clearance, the craft clearance that we obtain every time we take off, many of my students, including myself, when I was going through instrument, I didn't quite understand why do we need to waste all this time on the ground, getting a clearance back and forth, writing it down, repeating it back, plugging it in. Why do we need to do all that if at the end of all that we take off and we're told contact departure, and then we do that and departure then tells us what to do until our destination? So I never quite understood why we need to do both. Why just not scratch the entire craft clearance stage, just take off, and when I'm told to contact departure, just give me a departure frequency. When I'm told to contact departure, I'll contact departure, and departure will tell me what to do to my destination and how to get there. And I didn't get that for a very long time, and many people who go through IFR, who are training IFR, it doesn't quite make sense in their head. And what I tell my students, what I tell other people when talking about this, is in order for IFR to make sense in our head, we must think about it from a standpoint of lost comms, lost communication. And the reason is, all these things that we do in the IFR world that seem very redundant, even like a waste of time in 2022, these things were established and put into place years ago, when first of all, the equipment that we flew with and the reliability of the equipment was way lower than it is today. But second of all, the whole point of IFR really isn't to take care of things when everything's working, when you have communication and you're able to talk with ATC. The whole idea of IFR and all of its regulations and lost comms and everything is put into place for the event that things go haywire, and now things are no longer working the way we expect them to. And so what I tell my students, what I tell people is you have to think about IFR from a standpoint of lost comms. So next time something comes up in your IFR training and you ask yourself, well, why do we need this? This is redundant and it's extra. Try and look at it from a standpoint as if you're in the air and you just lost your communication. What would you do? So back to my question before, if we just got a frequency, if we just got a departure frequency and we're told to contact it once we took off, and then we lost comms before we established communication, and now we're in the soup, well, in this case, we wouldn't really know what to do because we didn't have a clearance, we didn't have a flight plan that we filed, we didn't have any assigned heading on departure, and so we'd all be shooting in the dark. And what shooting in the dark results in is it places two people or more than two people on very separate pages. And so the whole point, the goal in a lost comm situation is to place both the pilot and air traffic control on the same page. And the way to do that is to sort of set the ground. Is that me? I think that was me. 2455, 1215 Golf. I thought that was me. Let me just make sure.
Number 15 Golf, contact Josh approach 124.55, good day.
And approach, good afternoon, station air 1215 Golf, level 8,500.
Now 1215 Golf, Josh approach, condo altimeter 2996.
906, 1215 Golf. And so the whole goal of lost comms is to place the pilot and ATC on the same page. And the way we do that is by laying the groundwork and by establishing expectations and regulations on both ends prior to departure. So the event that we do lose comms, now we have what to fall on. So if you're familiar with the lost comms regulation, it talks about what are you going to do with your altitude, what are you going to do with your heading, with your right-left navigation, your vertical and your lateral navigation, how far along your route you could continue flying, where would you turn to in the event that you lost comms. So all those things are established before we even depart. And now if you lose comms, we have what to fall back on, and we know what to do. And next time something comes up in IFR that doesn't make sense, think of it from a lost comms perspective. And also remember, a lot of this is stuck, back in the 40s, 50s, and things don't change all that quick when it comes to aviation. So keep that in mind as well. Anyhow, the difference between flight following and IFR, really, there's no difference other than what we said. The clearance will be much longer for the reasons that I just mentioned. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. You'll get a beacon code if you don't have one already. I currently have one already. They might give me a new one, but I have one just because I'm currently on VFR flight following. The big thing to look out for and understand is that when you're going from VFR to IFR, when you're going from VFR to IFR while airborne, it's an interesting transition because you're not IFR all the way from takeoff, because you're VFR, you took off VFR. And so ATC has the job of sort of transitioning you from VFR to IFR traffic, but you're flying along. And so they will establish expectations and they will tell you, hey, maintain VFR, meaning don't yet fly into a cloud because you're not yet on an IFR flight plan. We haven't yet cleared you and given you the clearance. But what they'll typically do, just to set things off and have you heading in a direction while they take care of stuff on their own, they'll typically give you a waypoint or a place to fly to, meaning to track direct to, at a given altitude while you're maintaining VFR, while they take care of stuff, and then they'll come back to you and say, hey, clearance available, advise ready to copy. So with autopilot, it's easy because you could just devote your attention to writing it all down while you're on your way to that first waypoint. So that's one thing you could expect and sort of stay ahead of the game with in understanding that it's coming to you. So just be prepared for that. In my case, looking at where I'm at, they very well tell me direct Palmdale. So I'm ready for that. But again, they might tell me to go anywhere. So while I'm ready for that, I'm still open-minded in understanding that they could tell me to do anything at any time, and I'll just need to sort of figure it out. But the more I understand how these things work and what obtaining IFR in the air looks like, I can stay ahead of the game, at least mentally, and it makes a big difference when I get on with them. So here we go. We're just about to leave the MOA area over here. And so once I'm around Fox here, I'll get on with them, request my IFR to Torrance, and see what happens. And hopefully it will go as planned. Nothing too crazy, because my goal is to show you a generic, typical picking up your IFR while airborne. So again, right now I'm VFR. I'm currently on flight following just because I flew through this crazy MOA area right over here. But even if I weren't on VFR flight following, the process would be the same. You would contact approach and you would say, hey, I'm such and such from such and such at such and such altitude, and I'm looking to pick up my IFR to Torrance. So here we go. I'll take a sip of water. We should be out of it. We'll make it happen. All right, here we go. And I'll be ready to write things down. And approach for Station Air 1215 Golf. We're about 5 here to the north of Foxfield. Looking to pick up our IFR to Torrance. Should be on file.
Roger, standby.
Okay, so now he's going in his own files or whatever he does, and he's looking for the flight plan that I filed before I took off. And he will get it all ready for me, and then he will say, 1215 Golf, clearance available, advise ready to copy, if he's nice. I've seen people just throw it at pilots. And then I'll say, ready to copy, and I'll just copy it all down, and I'll repeat it back to him. And then you'll see how he transitions me from being VFR traffic to being IFR traffic, and from that point on, I'm on an IFR flight plan, and I'm IFR flight rules, and I can fly through IMC, and it's all completely IFR. And so you'll see what that looks like while airborne.
Number 15 Golf, squawk 4634.
4634, 1215 Golf. So they're switching my code, which is what I thought. 463.
Now 15 Golf, you're cleared to Torrance Airport via direct Palmdale. On Victor 201, Sinberry, Victor 459, Still Beach, direct, and maintain 1000.
All right, cleared to Torrance via direct Palmdale, Victor 201, And then Barry, Victor 459, Seal Beach, and then direct climb, maintain 11,000, 1215 Golf.
And 15 Golf, correct. And let's do direct solid to go on Victor 201, then rest of the route is unchanged.
Do you mind spelling that for me, 15 Golf?
It's Sierra, Oscar, Lima, Echo, Delta. A little bit shorter route for you.
Roger that, direct to solid, and then on Victor 201, and proceed on course 1215 Golf. All right, so here we go. 11, I'll add power.
Joshua approach, here's 5 kilo Mike, 10,500.
And 5 kilo Mike, Joshua approach, roger. Palmdale altimeter 2996.
And flight level change, my ceiling is
2996,
raised.
5 kilo Mike.
And I'm going to, let's do 100 knots. There we go. 100 knots, there we are. And now, just like we discussed, he gave me a point to first go direct to and then proceed on course. Now, typically, if he needs some more time to get my clearance, he'll tell me direct there and then he'll give it to me on the way. In our case, he gave it to me right now, direct solid. So what I'll do is transition or sync the heading bug, go to heading so my plane isn't doing anything. I'm coming into here, I'm deleting this flight plan, I'm cleaning up the system, and now what I'm going to do is en route, I'm going to plug in solid, and once I'm on course, I'll worry about the rest. So right now, that is Sierra. I asked him to spell it out for me. Oscar. And there's no craziness. You're not going crazy. He understands that you need a second to set things up. The world won't end. I'm plugging it in. I'm taking my time.
15 Golf, give advise when you're direct solid.
Oh, we'll go 15 Golf. So he told me to advise when I direct solid. So Sierra, Oscar, Lima, Echo, Delta, enter. I want to highlight it. Direct, enter, enter. There it is. I want to go to nav. Now my plane should turn left. And approach 15 Golf is direct solid as we speak. There we go.
Joshua approach, King Air
now,
17 Juliet.
Instead of Palmdale, he gave me solid and then joined Victor 201. So here's what I'll do.
187 Papa Joshua, Roger, Palmdale altimeter is 2996.
From solid, menu, or
Mission Fox,
menu,
Foxville
load
Airport.
airway to Barry, right? 201 to Barry. Enter, there's Victor 201 to Barry, and then load. And then you can see here as I'm building my flight plan as I'm going. So again, this is as you would do it on the ground, but you're on the fly as you make your way towards a waypoint. All right, here comes 11,000. So right now, after Barry, Victor 459. So I'll do that. Menu, load airway, Victor 459, enter. And my exit point, my off-ramp is Seal Beach. So there it is, enter, load, and you can see what that did. Solid, Victor 201 to Barry, Victor 459 to Seal Beach, and then direct. So I'll scroll all the way to destination, and I'll plug in K, T, O, A. Enter, none, and as you guys can tell, I zoom way out, bird's eye view, and I see I'm going all the way to Torrance. Back there, I'm going one step at a time, so I'm direct solid, and then from solid, join Victor 201 to Barry. Indeed, that's my clearance, and then from Barry, Victor 459 to Seal Beach. That checks, and then direct destination, right over there, Torrance. I'm happy. I did my double verification on my IFR flight plan. I am coming up on 11,000 feet, and right now, I am on an IFR flight plan. I'm IFR traffic. As expected, he gave me a new beacon code, and that's that. I'll go ahead and cruise out here. We are at 11,000 feet. There we are. There's 23. And we'll lean way out.
Number 7 Kilo Papa, clear direct Daggett, contact LA Center 132.5.
Okay, 132.5 and direct Daggett, 7 Juliet Papa.
And there we go. We're all good to go. And we're on course. There we have it. Our flight plan shows 31 minutes left to our flight. I hope that makes sense. I hope that wasn't too crazy. I hope you were able to follow along. I did my best to sort of take care of that, communicate with him while explaining things to you guys. But really, there's nothing too crazy. For those of you who are used to picking up VFR flight following in the air, very, very, very similar. Get on with approach, get a beacon code, and he'll give you your clearance. You'll copy it, you'll repeat it back just like you do on the ground. Two big things I want to stress and drive home that I see as big, big common errors when my students do pick up IFR flight plans in the air. The biggest thing is when you are in the air, you're probably already most likely on your own flight plan, whether it's direct destination or your made-up for-flight little route. So your plane is most likely tracking a course, meaning you're most likely in nav mode already. What happens is when people plug in that first initial waypoint to head to, as they make their way now on their IFR flight plan, they don't sync and switch to heading mode while they fiddle with the avionics. And what happens more often than not is people do that and then they plug in the wrong waypoint. Maybe they get a letter wrong, or they think the name
Joshua jet speed 221, 12,000.
Or they think the name of the waypoint is something else. And then they do direct enter, and the airplane starts turning because we're in nav mode, and we're on our way to a completely different place than we want to be. And so the best thing you could do when you're picking up IFR in the air is, while you're fiddling with the avionics, plugging your instructions, your clearance into the system, the best favor you could do yourself is sync the heading bug and transition to heading mode, just like that. I'm on heading mode right now. The plane will continue doing what it was doing before, but now I could do whatever I want to do with the avionics, and the plane won't run away from me. I'll just go back to GPS right there. That's the first thing. The second thing that I want to stress when you pick up your IFR in the air is you will get a whole list of whole clearance here that gets you all the way to your destination. And many people start thinking too much about this and start figuring out, how am I going to this, how am I going to that. The biggest thing you could do, and you saw he even prompted me to let him know when I'm on course to Solid. The biggest thing you could do when it comes to these things is, the first priority of yours should be, get moving in the direction of your first waypoint. Once you're on the way there, you typically have 10, 15 miles until you get to your first waypoint. Do all of your thinking and all of your fiddling as you're moving towards your first waypoint, not along the heading or the course that you were on when you initially called approach. So I hope that makes sense, because the sooner you can proceed on course, remember, they don't know. I could have nothing plugged in past Solid right now and he wouldn't know it, nor would he care. All he cares is that I turn right here on Victor 201 when I reach Solid. So I have all this time until I reach Solid.
Golf contact SoCal approach 124.6.
24-6, thanks for your help, 125 Golf.
Yep.
And now I'm on an IFR flight plan. And approach, good afternoon, station air 1215 Golf, level 11,000.
Station air 1215 Golf, still approach Burbank, altimeter 2991.
2991, 125 Golf. And so, the two big things I'll say about the IFR, picking up IFR in the air, is the first thing is when you fiddle with the avionics, sync the heading bug, go to heading mode, the plane won't run away from you. The second biggest thing is make it a priority to, as soon and quickly as possible,
flighting 070.
Get moving and tracking in the direction of your first waypoint. On the way there, load up the rest, think about things, and so on and so forth. And that's all there is to it. So I hope you guys learned something, and I hope if you were intimidated by picking up IFR in the air, there's nothing to it. These approach controllers are nothing but nice. And if you need something repeated, like I did, not repeated, but I asked him to spell Solid for me.
3420 took a departure at a contact, climb and maintain.
And the reason I asked him to spell is because I don't want to spend back and forth with him trying to plug it in and seeing it's the wrong one. I just rather off the bat say, hey, please spell it for me. And he said, S-O, or Sierra Oscar Lima Echo Delta. And so if he gives you a waypoint, just say, hey, could you spell it for me? He'll spell it for you, and then you'll plug that in. And that's all there is to it. That is how we obtain our IFR clearance while airborne. Not much to it. All right. We'll get the weather going here for Torrance in just a moment.
That was 3420, turn right, heading 340, climb and maintain 13,000.
All right, there we go, solid, and I'm joining Victor 201 to Barry, right down here.
3420. Sir, 6460 miles, turn right, heading.
Temperature is definitely cooled out here. A, because we climbed 1,500 feet. Oh, there we go.
Zulu, wind 270 at 12, visibility 7, few clouds at 1,000. Temperature 24, 2.17, altimeter 29901. ILS runway 29er right approaching use, landing and departing runway 29er. All aircraft are requested to read back hold short instructions with call sign towards tower frequency 133.07. Use caution for bird activity on or in the vicinity of the field. Use caution for work in progress adjacent to runways and taxiways. Notices to airman runway 29er left, values out of service. Multiple TFRs in effect in the vicinity of Los Angeles and surrounding areas.
Right, 13,000. Up to 13,000, right, 340 south.
November 6460 miles, turn right, heading 090.
090, 6 miles. Available flight service frequencies. Advisors contact. Do you have any?
And police one, there's traffic about a half mile south. You maneuver in the same area, altitude indicates 2,000.
India.
That was 3420, contact departure 128.75.
2875, go 3420.
Nice 37, turn right, heading 140.
140 for 937.
I'm deep in the TFR.
Information Juliet 2052 Zulu, wind 270 at 12.
Information Juliet.
7, few clouds at 1,000. Temperature 24, 2.1.
All right, altimeter 29901, that's what I have in right now, so that's not changing much. Looks like temperature has cooled out, 1 because I climbed to 11,000, and 2 because we're approaching the coast. We're leaving the desert. It was crazy hot out there.
Nice 37, turn right, heading 150.
150 for 930. 37.
And this is the route that I planned on getting. This is where we go. They cut me through the Bravo and keep us up high, and then they drop us down on the other side of the Bravo and sort of give us radar vectors to lose altitude to join whichever approach we want to fly. I loaded ILS 29 right with its minimums just in case, but I believe I'll get a nice visual approach into Torrance. Looking at the weather at Torrance, looks like 270 at 127.
Nice 37, connect SoCal approach 124.9er.
And few clouds at
124.9er for 937, good day.
So I don't see why I won't get a visual approach, but I have the instrument approach loaded and ready to go. Otherwise, all is good. Looks like temperatures...
November 115 Golf, flighting 150.
150, 125 Golf. All right, 150, I'm looking here. Before I move my bug, I want to get situation where it's to my left. So I move my bug to my left. There's 150, and I'll press the heading, and now the plane will turn left to 150. So I took my time with that.
Flighting 250 vectors for MVAs out there.
Oh, no problem, 250.
I took my time with that. He told me 150. I took a second to look. Where's 150? Oh, it's to my left. I moved my bug, put it on 150, transition to heading mode. So I took an extra second there, but I'd rather do that, get it right, be safe, be situationally aware, than jump on it and get it wrong. So there we have it. There we have it. So he's vectoring me now around. Here's my flight plan, but he's vectoring me around stuff. I believe his vector here is to keep me outside of the inner 10-mile ring of the TFR, to keep me on the 30, but we'll see what he does. Let's see, my plane should show up here in a second. Have an easier time saying this here.
23 Bravo Charlie, turn right heading 280.
280, thanks. We'll come to each other.
There we go. Looks like Burbank is off the right. Van Nuys is further down. The valley's right there. And downtown LA is smack in front of me to the right.
Dinosaur 6, Lima Alpha, clear direct Pomona.
Coming up on Pasadena. El Monte is ahead of me to the left.
And direct Pomona, Papa, Oscar, Mike, and then direct, actually just flight heading 110.
Heading 110, 16 Alpha.
110. Definitely keeping me up high.
Dinosaur 6 and Alpha, then the next controller will have more direct. Contact SoCal 125.
Another thing I want to talk about as it relates to IFR, since we're at an IFR flight plan, is a concept I call, not a concept I call, it's something I ask my students when I fly with them.
And 3 Bravo Charlie, turn right heading 330.
I always ask them periodically throughout the flight, are you on a direct 2 right now?
Stationair 15 Golf, flight heading 110.
110, 15 Golf. So I'm looking 110 to my left, so I'm moving this to the left. There's 110. So before I move my bug, I look at my HSI, I find the number he wants me to turn to, and then I move the heading bug to it. Takes an extra second, but it throws your situational awareness way high. So keep that, try that. Anyhow, direct 2s or radar vectors, what I periodically ask my students when we fly together is randomly I'll say, are you currently on a direct 2 or on radar vectors? And what I mean by that when it comes to IFR is, are you currently tracking direct to a waypoint or VOR, whatever it might be, or are you maintaining a heading? And the reason I ask that question is if you...
15 Golf, descend to maintain 9,000.
Descend to maintain 9,000, 15 Golf. So I'm lowering the floor. There's 9,000. Vertical speed. Here comes 500 feet a minute. I'll verify the plane is indeed descending.
County Fire 12 SoCal, Burbank Gulf Perimeter 29091.
So if you think about IFR, you're always either on direct 2s or radar vectors. Always. Anytime you're on an IFR flight plan, you're always on a direct 2 or radar vectors. You're always on direct 2 or radar vectors. And the reason I ask my students that is because I think I'm huge on situational awareness. And one of the things that you'll find will increase your situational awareness as it relates to IFR tremendously is simply asking yourself and being aware at any given moment during the flight, am I currently on a direct 2 or on radar vectors? So for instance, I was direct Barry a moment ago, but guess what? I'm currently on radar vectors. He's giving me a heading to maintain 110. The more you could ask yourself that question throughout the flight, and the more you could accurately answer it, your situational awareness will go completely up, and you'll also be able to know there won't be any questions, there won't be confusion anymore. Meaning, if I were to, I'll give you an example where it's really, really helpful.
So the departure, radar contact, fund to maintain 13,000.
The ears. I'll give you an example where that's really helpful. If we were tracking direct Barry as we were, and direct Barry was...
Stationair 15 Golf, turn right heading 140.
A right turn 140, Golf. Direct Barry, the track was 19 or 2. So if I was direct Barry, right, meaning in nav mode, and he said Stationair 15 Golf,
2476, turn right
maintain a heading of 19 or 2.
320.
So what that meant would be continue tracking towards Barry, meaning don't change your course or your heading, assuming there was no wind, right, no wind correction angle, because on a heading on radar vectors, wind correction is on them. But assuming there was no wind, I was heading 192 and I was going direct Barry, tracking Victor 201. If he, while going direct Barry, said, hey, 15 Golf, maintain heading of 19 or 2, all I would do in that case was sync the heading bug or go to 19 or 2 and then transition the heading. In that moment, I transitioned from direct 2,
124.9er.
24.9er, thanks, so 125 Golf. And approach Stationair 125 Golf, 9,700, descending 9,000, heading 140.
Stationair 1215 Golf, SoCal approach, roger.
And so, in that case, I would transition from nav to heading. I would still be going towards Barry, But guess what I would do at Barry? I would no longer turn to Victor 459. I would continue on a heading of 19 or 2. And that's what I mean by direct twos or radar vectors. It could be the same direction. You could be moving in the same direction, but what you do when you get to a given waypoint will be different depending on whether or not you're direct two or radar vectors. So in IFR, always ask yourself, it's a great exercise, am I currently on a direct two or am I radar vector? So right now I'm on radar vectors. I'm heading 140. I'm not going direct to any waypoint. How long will I maintain 140 for? The answer is until I'm told to do otherwise. Or if I lose comms, in which case I will do my what's called Avenue F and AIM for the altitude and lateral navigation, and I'll figure out from there with my craft clearance or with my IFR clearance, what am I expected to do next. But unless that happens, I will maintain 140 until I'm told to do otherwise. That's what radar vectors means. And so keep that in mind. I think it's a great question to ask yourself as an IFR pilot, and you could do it when you're alone in the airplane. Am I currently on a direct two or on radar vectors? Am I direct two, radar vectors? Just that question alone will keep that situational awareness really, really, really high, and there won't be any confusion at any point as far as what am I going to do when I reach a waypoint or when I reach a given place while flying. So I hope that is helpful, direct twos or radar vectors. All right. And if you're seeing what they're doing, I'm deep in the TFR right now, but they're vectoring me right around the inner circle.
1-5 golf, flying heading 170.
170 on the heading, 1-2-1-5 golf. So essentially, she's keeping me coming right down here. She's just keeping me around that inner circle, which is fine. But there you have it. Torrance happens to lie outside of the inner circle, which is phenomenal. I'm able to land there. So it's great. So that's what the heading did for me right now, 170. So she's tracking me right around that inner circle, which is pretty cool to see it in action.
JetBlue 687, reduce speed to 210.
210 knots, JetBlue 687.
American 2886, reduce speed to 210.
Down the speed, American 2886.
Skywest 4731.
And I have Juliet at Torrance, I'll let her know.
Skywest 4731, speed 170 or greater, 2 TG, cleared visual for runway 25 left.
For the visual 25 left 170 or more to TG, Skywest 4731.
And approach 1215 Golf has Juliet at Torrance.
15 Golf, roger, expect lower in about 10 miles or so.
Roger, thanks, 15 Golf. As expected with this, they need to get me through the Bravo. So if you guys see here all the traffic into LAX, they got to keep me above it. And I'm right here. I'm right over here. And so all the traffic is right beneath me. Looks like in this area, about 3,000 feet under me. And so she'll give me lower in about 10 miles on the south side of the LA class Bravo.
93 Delta Charlie, SoCal approach, roger.
SoCal approach, roger. And there we have it. We're almost there. Easy schmazoo. Temperatures are way good because it's cooler out here. I'll close the cowl flaps, gain a little airspeed. And all is good in the hood.
Skywest 4731, contact tower on 120.95.
12095, Skywest 4731, good day.
Good day.
Good day.
JetBlue 687, advise airport in sight.
We're looking, JetBlue, we have the field in sight, JetBlue 687.
JetBlue 687, cleared visual for runway 25 left, speed 170 until TG.
70 to TG, cleared for the visual 25 left, JetBlue 687.
He's South African, that pilot. 25 left. Clear for the visual, 25 left. Left.
American 2086, advise airport in sight, reduce speed 180.
180 on the speed, we'll advise.
180. All looks good.
Station Air 15 Golf, flying heading 200.
200, 15 Golf. And look at that, she's keeping me flying around that inner circle. 200.
Southwest 1904, speed.
The inner circle is right here. So she's tracking me right around it, keeping me above the LAX traffic.
American 2886, cleared visual approach runway 25 left.
Visual approach 25 left.
Station Air 15 Golf, contact SoCal 125.35.
2535, have a nice day, 125 Golf.
Right heading 020, November 393, shall we?
And approach Station Air 1215 Golf, level 9,000, heading 200.
Station Air 1215 Golf, approach Torrance information, Juliet is current.
I should have said that, we have Juliet, 15 Golf. 15 Golf. So for some situational awareness, Seal Beach is right here, so it's pretty much there right now. I'm way high, and that's because they wanted to keep me high above LA final approach airliner traffic. The final approach course to the runway is right over here, and the reason it's not as thick as my flight plan is because I only have that loaded. I don't have it activated. What I could do right now that Dodgers no longer a brilliant option on the table. Seal Beach, however, is 6,000, 125 Golf. There we go, vertical speed, 500. Because I know that Dodger's no longer an option, Seal Beach is. When I loaded the approach, I selected Seal Beach as my initial approach fix. So if I simply went ahead and activated approach, guess what? By knowing what activate approach does, which draws a line, a pink line from me to my initial approach fix, which in my case is Seal Beach, and then sequences me in on the approach, because I know that is what it will do, and Seal Beach is part of my flight plan, I could just do activate approach and it'll clean this whole mess up. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm on heading, but look what happens. It cleans everything up, and I have a line from me to Seal Beach, from Seal Beach to Driffy, and from Driffy to Odeki, then Driffy, and then Zilba. So it cleans it all in. I'm still tracking towards the final approach course because that's the radar vectors. That's the heading that I'm currently on. But it just cleaned the whole system up, and Seal Beach is still on there in the event that she says, hey, direct Seal Beach. I'll do direct enter, and it'll recreate that peak line from me to Seal Beach. And it's that simple. What I'll do right now, because I'm insanely high and close, there's no reason to fly fast. So I'll go ahead and go really slow, and I'll even get flaps in, just because there's no reason for me to overshoot the final approach course. And I could go really slow in this plane with flaps. And so right now she said 6,000, and I will slow way down, get those flaps in there, and that way I should reach my pretty much 2,000. That's what they have you join the final approach course on this side, on the north side of the approach course, by going as slow as I can. So here comes flaps 10. Here comes flaps 20, and I'm going as slow as I can because I know I have 8,000 feet to descend. Again, they kept me really, really high to fly over above all of the LAX class Bravo traffic.
And 15 Golf, fast rate of descent now, please, to 6,000.
Fast rate to 6,000, 15 Golf. There we go. So I'm going down fast, but I'm not moving forward over the ground.
Departure, Jet 10 is 1,300.
Jet 10 SoCal, departure radar contact. Climb and maintain 5,000 and heading 180, vector for the climb.
It looks like Torrance is all in the clear, so that's good. But it doesn't matter,
heading 180.
Again, because we're on an IFR flight plan, so. But it looks like the layer is right over here.
124.1.
124.1, Jet 10 Echo.
Let's go ahead, take a gamble that Torrance Tower will be next, unless they'll transfer you to 127.2.
Number 15 Golf, heading to 180.
180, 15 Golf. I'm looking, 180 is to my left.
Heading
Boom.
number 240.
And first I find the number on the HSI and then I turn towards it. Because in my head I could think 180 to my right. I start doing that, then I go, oh, it's to my left. So first I look to my left, and then I turn.
RV93 Delta Charlie, SoCal approach, roger. You said you had November, Jolene?
We do have November.
November. At this point, Seal Beach is no longer an option. Here comes vectors to final.
280,
And there it is. And I'm right here. There's my localizer, and there's my 1119er into Torrance. So I activated the approach, vectors to final, and I have great situational awareness. The final approach course is right here, which the localizer is confirming that, and we're good to go. Unless you'll give me a visual, but probably give me an ILS. There's 6,000. I'll go ahead and increase power.
800 feet for 5,000.
Jetted 105 and maintain 6,000.
6,000.
15 Golf descend and maintain 2,000.
2,000, 15 Golf.
Exojet 357 approaching.
There it is, vertical speed.
Expect a visual 20 right approach.
There's 1,000.
Right, Exojet 357.
I got my flaps in there, so I'll reduce power again. Again, I'm not looking to move fast over the ground because I'm not interested in going past this final approach course. But although I may have to, actually I won't have to, because here comes flaps full.
Number 317 Echo X-ray approach identity.
So we'll be really, really, really slow over the ground, so that's good. And we might have been...
10 approach 124.3, good day.
No, we won't go into the clouds.
4.3, just
And there we are. We're moving really slow over the ground, but we're descending at 1,000 feet a minute. And looking at the banana over here, I should reach 2,000 on the opposite side of the approach course. And because I want to reach it before I reach the final approach course, I'll get a little slower. The banana should come towards me. But what I will also do is go ahead and increase my rate of descent to 1,200 a minute, and that way I will be able to reach it sooner. So now the banana is coming close to me, and I'm literally falling like a potato from the sky. It's crazy. This thing goes really, really, really slow. Alright, lights come on. I have Torrance Tower frequency on a standby of 1.
3 Delta Charlie heading 180.
Cal flaps.
3 Delta Charlie.
And around 3 Delta Charlie, descend and maintain 4,000. Best rate of descent.
Down to 4,000, and we'll give you our best rate for 3 Delta Charlie.
Should be good. We'll join the
7 Juliet Sierra
ILS
heading 100,
from the north.
vector thermal.
Alright, heading 100, 7 good here.
And we're just dropping. We're using gravity only, pretty much, to maintain energy on the airplane and continue flying.
One 5 Golf right turn heading 250, join the final approach course.
250, join final, 150.
Number 7 Juliet Sierra approach 124.1, they'll have higher for you.
Good, there's the diamond, the glide slope showed up. And what I'll do right now is I'll go ahead, because I am on heading, I'll go ahead and press nav, and that will put the localizer on standby. Why did I not press approach? Because she told me to turn join final. She didn't say cleared approach. If I hit approach, it would activate my glide path as well, and the plane would descend. She didn't tell me to descend below 2,000. So right now, following her instruction.
miles from Zilda, heading 260, maintain 2,000 till establish for the ILS 29 right approach.
260 till established, maintain 2,000, cleared ILS 200 right into Torrance 1215 Golf. There we go. Localizer is on standby. I am cleared, so I could hit approach and throw glide slope. Activate that as well. 400 feet to go. I'll go ahead and add a little power here, and I'll take flaps out from full, because I'll just be way too slow, and I'll go flaps Now that I made it down, I'll go flaps 0. So again, our localizer engaged, and once our diamond touches the center, so now the plane on its own is turning right to intercept final, as you can see here, maintaining 2,000. And once the plane reaches or approaches Zilba, the diamond will touch the center at 2,000 with my altimeter setting of 2991, and it will automatically descend towards the runway because I hit approach and I have glide slope on standby.
3 Delta Charlie, left turn heading 050.
050, 3 Delta Charlie, thanks.
Number 215 Golf, contact Torrance Tower 122.07, good day.
Contact tower, good day, 1215 Golf.
Going to SoCal, 6 Papa Delta.
Torrance Tower, good afternoon, stationaire 1215 Golf, ILS 29 right.
Stationaire 1215 Golf Torrance Tower, runway 29 right, clear to land.
Runway 29 right, clear to land, 1215 Golf. There we go. Fuel selector both, cowl flaps open. Here comes our prop mixture. Lights are on, flaps are currently 0. What I'll do here is I will go flaps 10, and the plane will maintain 2,000 until Zilba, and see what happens. It just reached the Zilba, or the diamond reached the center, and we switched automatically to glide slope. So now the plane is lowering its nose on its own. So the automation is flying this ILS. I'm just controlling it, pressing buttons, and making sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm sort of monitoring the system and the power. And there we go, we're sliding down the slide. I'll reduce power a little bit. I am fully configured for landing, my lights are all on, and we're good to go. This is what an ILS approach looks like, following an insanely rapid descent. I have the runway in sight. I'll keep the plane coming with autopilot here, and I'll go flaps 20 in a moment, and then I'll land with flaps full, because what I want to do is I want to actually touch down and come to a stop, taxi off a taxiway hotel, so I don't have to go all the way to Charlie. So I'll get that closer to the runway, because that adds a lot of drag and it slows the airplane down. So here we go. Alrighty. All looks good. I was clear to land. There's my minimums. Plane is behaving. Lights are on. Prop mixture forward. Cowl flaps open. Fuel selector both. And all is good in the hood. There's the 1200. Looks like 3 knots of headwind. Not too bad. All right, welcome to Torrance, you guys. All right, here comes flaps 20. Leaving the power where it's at, because I will need that power to overcome the drag I just added. So overall, my speed will decrease here a little bit, but I'm not touching the power because I did want to slow down. So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I got flaps 20 and I slowed down at the same time. Plane is continuing to move towards the runway. Now I want to come in at a slightly higher or steeper approach angle, so I'll go ahead and throw the automation away right now, and I'll maintain this altitude just to get a little higher as I track to the runway, to come in a little steeper. Alright, flaps full, and I'm reducing that power. There's that balloon getting me up high because I want to come in steep. And now I'm going to use gravity to get myself down with the flaps, and it's insane the descent rate you could maintain with all this drag. Absolutely crazy. There we go. And I want to hang out right under that critical angle of attack. So let's fish for the stall warning horn. Let's see where it's at.
Minimums, minimums.
Where's that stall warning horn? I'm at a really high pitch attitude. Huh, 55 knots, I don't even hear it. Crazy. There it is. We're right under the critical. There it is. Stall warning horn. And cut the power, touchdown. There we go. And look at that. I could be at a full stop if I did full brakes. It took nothing. Nothing. Absolutely crazy, this stall kit. There we go.
Station
Welcome
15 Golf,
to Torrance.
East East 15 Golf.
Station 15 Golf. Roger, you remain this frequency taxi via Hotel Alpha.
Alright, this frequency East East via Hotel Alpha 125 Golf. Alright, you guys, welcome to Torrance. Flaps up. There we go, we'll lean the mixture. It is 23 degrees Celsius here today. Oh, there's a bird. Lots of birds at this airport. Okay, this frequency, I got clearance to taxi, clear right, clear left. Here's Alpha on the left. Welcome to Torrance, you guys. Hope you enjoyed the flight. Hope you learned a thing or two. Otherwise, I hope I was able to entertain you. I need to come up with a better line. Or no, that's a good line, actually. If you weren't educated, clear left, clear right. I hope you were entertained. That's good, too. And we'll get the plane parked. And we'll get some good rest going. And as always, if you guys have any comments, concerns, feel free to leave a comment, or, as most people seem to do, is send me a private email. I answer every single one of the emails I receive. There we go. We're back home. All right. AC comes off. All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining me.